A very good evening to all of you today. Thank you for joining us in this evening webinar on Journey of IMU Pharmacy Degree Credit Transfer Pathway to Australia. I think today we are very lucky. We don't not just have two speakers today, but we actually have four speakers. And I have here today with me Associate Professor Dr. Dinesh Kumar, who is the Program Director of IMU Bachelor of Pharmacy Program. I also have three other speakers who are from University of Tasmania. So they are here tonight, with all of us today. And I have a Miss Josie Hughes, who is the faculty from University of Tasmania. So she's the Academic Placement Coordinator and Unit Coordinator for Transition to Pharmacy Practice 3. I also have Tamara Zimmerli, who is the Business Manager for School of Pharmacy and Pharmacology, as well as the School of Psychology and Sciences at University of Tasmania. And lastly, I also have one more speakers who are the students. She's Leong Wen Yin. She's the fourth year student at UTAS or University of Tasmania at the moment. She actually transferred from IMU in year 3 in 2022. So we are very lucky to have them all to join us. Okay, before we start our first presentation by Dr. Dinesh, just allow me to remind you a few things. Number one, we have muted all your microphone for today. All right, so if you have any questions or any feedback, please use the Q&A panel. So as the presentation goes, please feel free to just put in any questions that you have at the moment, and we will answer all the questions that you have, or we will try to answer all the questions you have at the end of all the presentations. All right. So I'm not going to take too much time, but I will have our first presentation, maybe Dr. Dinesh.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Wong Pei-Si. All right. So before we go into the actual main talk by Mrs. Josie Hughes, okay, so I just want to take you all briefly through the basic introduction about the pharmacy program at IMU. But anyways, welcome all to you who have registered for this particular webinar. So I believe that this will be beneficial for you, right? So at IMU, we actually have several health-based programs. One of the programs, successful programs, what we have in IMU is the Bachelor of Pharmacy Honors Program. So a quick background about this program. So I believe that many of us are aware of the profession of pharmacy. So pharmacy is a noble profession, and pharmacists who are part of this profession, they form the integral part of the healthcare team. So today, pharmacists are well respected in the community, and there are many, unlike previously. Now there is a wide range of options for people who have completed the Bachelor of Pharmacy program. So there are diverse options in terms of career opportunities. So generally, as a pharmacist, what basically a pharmacist will do is that they are otherwise called as medication experts. They prepare, they dispense prescriptions. They ensure that medicines and doses are correct. They also counsel, they prevent harmful drug interactions, and they counsel patients on the safe and appropriate use of their medications. So the profession of pharmacy has evolved over several centuries. From early day, we call them as apothecaries. From there, now we have the contemporary pharmacists who we have today. So that's a quick background about the profession of pharmacy. Now, moving on, I would like to give a quick background about the Bachelor of Pharmacy program at IMU. So the IMU Bachelor of Pharmacy Honors Program began in the year 2004, where we launched the program with the inaugural intake of 40 students. So in 2009, the graduation of the pioneer cohort of BPharm took place. All right. So in the same year, 2009, we received the accreditation from the Malaysian Pharmacy Board, which we have until today. Now, in the year 2011, we began partnership with the University of Otago in New Zealand and the University of Tasmania in Australia. Now, today, the IMU Bachelor of Pharmacy program is one of the most established and largest private, it's a school of pharmacy in Malaysia with over 2,000 BPharm alumni. So that's the quick background about the IMU Bachelor of Pharmacy program. One of the highlights of our program is that we have these credit transfer options. And one of our key partners in this is the University of Tasmania. So we have been having this partnership with the University of Tasmania for so many years, and we have so many successful students who have taken this path of credit transfer option, and they have gone over to the University of Tasmania, and many among them are successfully practicing as a pharmacist in Australia. So generally, if we look into this specific option, students, they actually do the first 2 years in IMU, and it's the last 2 years they do in University of Tasmania. So once they have completed this program, through this credit transfer option, students have the option to work as a pharmacist in Australia. And not only that, they also, if they prefer to come back to Malaysia, they also can come back to Malaysia as long as they fulfill the requirements set by the Pharmacy Board of Malaysia. So this is a quick introduction about the credit transfer option, which we have currently with University of Tasmania. So with that, I conclude my introductory talk. I just pass it over to Dr. Wang to take over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Dinesh. Yeah, so in case anyone who missed my introduction earlier, our next presentation is going to be from a few of our speakers from University of Tasmania, but I just allowed me to give a little bit of introduction again. So I have here Miss Josie Hughes, who is the faculty from University of Tasmania. I just want to highlight that she's the academic placement coordinator, as well as the unit coordinator for a module, which is a bridging course for students transitioning from International Medical University to University of Tasmania. I think important to point out, Miss Josie is also a pharmacist, and she has done many incredible work, of course, including accredited pharmacy immunization training course as well. So if you have any questions relating to transferring to University of Tasmania or working on Australia, this is the time for you to also find out a little bit more about it. So please feel free to put in questions in between talk as you can think of. Yeah, and also important, very lucky for us to have another 2 speakers joining us from University of Tasmania as well, which is Miss Tamara Zimmerli, who is the business manager for School of Pharmacy and Pharmacology, as well as School of Psychology Sciences at University of Tasmania. Yeah, Tamara has worked with many international students recruitment, and she's perhaps the best person to advise you and some decision making going through to overseas. So if you're still struggling deciding whether you want to study overseas or not, this is the right time for you to also ask questions also. Okay. And of course, I also have one of our students who have transferred to University of Tasmania, Leong Wen Yin, with us today. And of course, if you want to hear from students who have transferred, I think this is the right time as well. So I think I will have, Josie to start her presentation. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong Pei, and thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for coming along. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the transitioning from IMU into the Bachelor of Pharmacy at the University of Tasmania. So, apologies. So I'm a lecturer in pharmacy practice at the University of Tasmania in the Bachelor of Pharmacy. And as Dr. Wong Pei mentioned, I'm the unit coordinator for the bridging unit, which IMU students undergo on their way to articulating into our degree. I also coordinate placements, which form a really comprehensive part of our degree as well. So I'll talk to that a little bit later on too. The other thing that we've recently started doing is delivering the pharmacist immunisation training as well, and that's something else that I coordinate as well. So a few different roles there in the Bachelor of Pharmacy. It's just a lovely shot of our beautiful city in Hobart. So just a little bit about Tasmania. So I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but we are this little island down the bottom of Tasmania, and we have a very temperate climate. We have the very 4 distinct seasons, and I'm sure Ven can attest to those. We're just coming out of winter now, but we have some beautiful we have a beautiful climate, some very beautiful times in autumn and springs just starting, and it's a very beautiful place to live. We are small. We have around 500,000 people in the state, and most of those people are based in Hobart or in Launceston. But we are very accessible to the rest of Australia as well. So we have direct flights to most capital cities in Australia, and it's only an hour or so to Melbourne and a couple of hours to Sydney, so it's not too far away. But we are a very, very beautiful state. So many beautiful places to visit should you come to Tasmania as well. And we're the only state, or the first state in Australia, to be powered by 100% renewable energy too. So that's something else that we're quite proud of. So we are the only university in the state, and from my perspective as academic placement coordinator, we find that we've developed some really wonderful relationships with the hospitals, community pharmacies, and other placement sites, so we can deliver a really comprehensive work integrated learning program throughout the degree. And we find that we just have a really ongoing and wonderful relationship with a lot of sites in Tasmania. So we sort of know all of our sites, and we can contact everyone directly. And, you know, we've just had that ongoing relationship, which is really lovely. UTAS is also very passionate about sustainability, so that's something that we're quite proud of as well. The fourth oldest university in Australia. We do have quite small class sizes, and we do try to instill a lot of practical teaching, a lot of workshops, and counselling practice and things like that for pharmacy, which is really useful, you know, to help develop those skills as a pharmacist. So just some highlights of our degree, should you come to the University of Tasmania. So we do now have the opportunity to study not only in Hobart, but in other sites in Tasmania as well, so Launceston or Burnie. So that's an option that has only been available starting from this year, that we're offering the course throughout the state. We have one of the highest amount of placement hours of all of the degrees, all of the pharmacy degrees in Australia as well. That's something that we put a lot of work into, and I hope Ven can attest to this as well, that it really does help you to put all of that knowledge and theory into practice by going out on placements in community pharmacies, in hospitals, in other allied health and other healthcare settings as well, such as aged care facilities or GP practices, community nurses, alcohol and drug services and things like that. So we do offer a really extensive placement program, and that's something that is, all of the students always say, is one of their favourite parts of studying as well. As I mentioned before, we do the vaccination program, vaccination accreditation program. We also do a medication review accredited training course as well, which enables students to graduate from the degree already well on the way to becoming a consultant accredited pharmacist, so able to do home medication reviews and other aged care residential medication reviews as well. All students have the opportunity to be involved in research projects as part of their studies in BPharm as well. In terms of intern and employment opportunities, so you would graduate with the Bachelor of Pharmacy with honours, and that's recognised in Tasmania and right throughout Australia as well. And as Dr. Dinesh Kumar mentioned as well, it's recognised in Malaysia too. So most students choose to either stay in Tasmania, but you can also choose to work anywhere in Australia as well. And a number of students have done that in the past. And then either continued working there or return to Tasmania or return to Malaysia. There's lots of different options there. We have 100% employment success rate for our graduates who go on to become pharmacy interns as well. And a lot of students end up deciding to stay and work in Australia, and I think Ven's hoping to talk to you about that as well. So in terms of where you come in to the degrees, so IMU students transfer directly into our second year of the degree. And again, I'm not 100% sure if you can see my mouse here, but you would come in at the start of year 2. And cover all of the study that's covered from the start of year 2 and below. So, and then graduate with Bachelor of Pharmacy with honours. Just to give you an idea of the timing of the course, year 2, we have the health study periods and we have the trimesters. So there'll be 3 study periods, and that the second year will run from February in the year that you articulate to the degree, and that will run through to January the following year. The year 3, so the final year of study, that will run from February through to November. So that's the sort of traditional semester approach. So, and then you would receive your results, I think, in December, and then go on to start your intern program, usually before Christmas that year. So the transition to pharmacy practice is the bridging unit. So for students who will finish up at IMU and then articulate to UTAS, and they would just complete this 7-week unit, which I'll discuss in a minute as well. So you'll complete your first 2 years at IMU and then this bridging unit. So a lot of the focus of the bridging unit will be on all of that necessary background of pharmacy practice, Australian healthcare system, and things along that side, as well as the communication skills. We do a lot of counselling practice as well. And there's a small amount of bridging content in pharmacology to cover where there's sort of a gap in the transition process, and that's mainly around the central nervous system. So just to give you an idea, it's a 7-week course. I say online and Milo. So Milo is our online learning platform. So the first 6 weeks will be online, so students can remain in Malaysia to complete the first 6 weeks. And they'll cover the Australian healthcare system, the pharmacist role within the Australian healthcare system, perspectives of the patient, communication, and then onto pharmacology. And they'll be assessed every week with a small quiz, or when we do communication, that will be an oral counselling session with myself online. Then you'll arrive in Tasmania and we'll come and meet you, and we'll have some face-to-face activities for a week as well. So that will be, we'll do some orientation, we'll do some extemporaneous compounding. So we'll make a cream in our laboratories here. We'll do some more counselling workshops, and we'll give you that opportunity to attend a community pharmacy placement as well, to put some of that theory that you've covered into practice as well, and see that Australian healthcare system and how it works in the real world as well. So then there'll be an oral exam and an assignment that you'll submit that you've been sort of gradually completing throughout the full 7 weeks. And obviously, you'll find out more details about that closer to the time. So the prerequisites to transfer to the Bachelor of Pharmacy is to successfully complete your first 2 years of the Bachelor of Pharmacy at IMU. You're exempt from completing the IELTS if you've studied for the 2 years in English at IMU. The cost of the bridging course, so the one I just described, the 7-week course, is around about 4,800 Australian dollars. And once you've received your letter of offer for that course, you should be automatically enrolled, but you can always contact myself or other members of the faculty if you need any assistance with that. So we do pride ourselves on being a really supportive faculty. All of the icons that you can see on your screen there are all the university-wide support services. So they can all be accessed at any time and are really useful resources as well. And then just within the Bachelor of Pharmacy itself, we are a very close-knit faculty, and we do offer support to students right throughout the degree. So there's the unit coordinators, the year coordinators, and then we have some designated specialised support staff as well, who we can once we've identified if there's any needs, we can put you in contact with those support staff, and we can have some extra sessions with them. So there's a lot of people you can contact within the faculty to access for additional support, as well as the university-wide support services too. In terms of scholarships, and I'll talk to these briefly, but Tamara's probably much more of an expert on these. So IMU students would be considered for the Tasmanian International Scholarship, which would give you a 25% discount from the annual tuition fee. So there's a minimum GPA required in your IMU studies to be considered. And once we receive confirmation of that, we will review the scholarship requirements. So once I've finished tomorrow, might just talk to that as well, if anyone has any questions about those. I'll just move on to these, and these are some photos of our lovely new city university accommodations. So there are a couple of accommodation options. So these are the ones that are available through UTAS, and I think then stayed in a couple of different ones, and might be able to give you some advice on those as well. So we have some brand new apartments in the Hobart CBD, which is about 10 minutes on the bus from the Sandy Bay campus where the degree is. But we also have some campuses within the city as well, which are a short walk from those. The university apartments and Christ and John Fisher colleges are located in Sandy Bay, so they're sort of just up a hill really from the pharmacy building, so nice and close and walking distance as well. Launceston also has some some university accommodation, and the application process is online as well. And rent will usually cover all of your bills too. Then this next slide is just a little bit of an indication of the cost of those on a weekly basis. Lots of other opportunities come with student living as well, and being a student living in university accommodation. So lots of opportunities to network and develop your professional connections in that way as well. Sport, and obviously arts and performance as well. So those sorts of aspects can be really enticing to students to come and get involved in. Lots to do in Tasmania. I'm a Tasmanian, born and bred, and never ceases to amaze me all of the different things that you can do here as well. Got some amazing places to visit, amazing national parks that, you know, change like at all different times of the year and always look different. Some beautiful places to eat, and as well, lots of lovely restaurants, and lots of fresh food options as well, and a really growing arts scene as well. I'm sure you may have even heard of Mona, which has been around about 10 years, I suppose, now, the Museum of Old and New Art, and we've got some other museums locally as well, and lots of festivals around the state too. So it's a really exciting place to live. Sorry, I'll just have a little drink of water while you look at our some of our lovely IMU students who transferred to the University of Tasmania in 2022. So they're out sightseeing, and they sent me these photos of what they saw when they were out and about. This is one of our lovely native animals, the wombat. So it might be a good time now to transfer over to hand over to Ven, and she can give a little bit of first-hand information on what it's like to be one of those students who transfers over from IMU to UTAS, and she can give you a little bit of an idea about her experiences. But thank you for having me, and feel free to put as many questions as you like in the chat.
Thank you, Josie, and thank you, Dr. Wong and Dr. Dinesh, for having me today. My experience with UTAS is I enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot of enjoyable parts, and there's also definitely some challenges. I'm not going to say that it's free of challenges, but the staff in UTAS is very supportive, and they have helped me throughout all the challenges that ever since I got here. And now I'm in my final semester, doing pharmacy with applied honors. On top of that, I have my individual honors project as well. But I think now it's changed to everyone having a full honors rather than an applied honors. I hope that will be better for all of you so that you don't have to do 2 projects. But yes, there were a lot of challenges, but I really do enjoy it. The challenges actually helped me grow a lot in terms of personal and professional aspects. It is a very different approach compared to IMU, learning-wise. IMU, the lecturers are very dedicated. You have lectures 8 to 5. That was when I was there. I'm not sure whether it has changed ever since then. And like workshops and tutorials was 8 to 5, and sometimes I need to go to uni on Saturdays as well because of COVID. But in UTAS, the lecturers are equally dedicated and equally helpful. It's just the approach they have is more of a self-directed learning. Instead of having lectures 8 to 5 every day, I only go to uni for 2 to 3 days a week, just for the workshops and tutorials, probably about 2 to 3 hours a day. Other than that, we spend our time at our jobs. We have part-time jobs away from uni, which help us a lot in the professional development as well. And they emphasize a lot on applications, so there's a lot of placements. I just completed my 6 weeks placements for my final semester, and there's also placements in 3rd year, and every fortnightly, I think we have a hospital round. So we do get to see cases in the hospital and review drug-related problems in the cases as well, which is very interesting to see. But yes, I really do enjoy the experience. Tasmania is a very beautiful state, and I really, really enjoy it. It's a bit colder, but yes, it's a very nice state, and I really enjoyed it so far.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, perhaps we could thank you, Ben, I think, for sharing. I think I myself, when looking at all the photos, I haven't been to Tasmania before, but it looks really, really nice. I'm not going to go there to study, but I think one day I should really drop by and have a visit. Yeah. But thanks very much, Josie and Ben, for sharing with us. Perhaps we can put down the slide at the moment. I think we can just stop the sharing, and then we can move into Q&A. We already have some questions posted by some students or some those attend today. But anyway, those of you who are still having questions, please remember you could actually post it in the Q&A panel there. All right, and we will try to answer as much as possible. Okay, we have one question here was asking, perhaps directed to Josie, is what is the total credit transfer point IMU student will have to transfer to UTAS to join year 2? And what is the total remaining credit that the students need to complete in UTAS in order to get Bachelor of Pharmacy honors? But perhaps I'd like to just answer the first part first. As long as you completed the Bachelor of Pharmacy for first 2 years program, you are eligible to transfer to UTAS already. So you don't need to worry about how many points that you have to get it, as long as you completed first 2 years. All right, and that's the module you have to pass. Dr. Dinesh, would you like to add on anything or to what I said just now?
Yeah, I think pretty much Dr. Wong has covered. Basically, it's just the first 2 years. That's eligibility criteria. As long as you complete that first 2 years, and if you have that, yes, passed all this one with the required merit, because we need to have a specific CGPA. So if students can have that, yes, you're all the way through. Yeah.
Josie, would you be able to help us on the second part, which is what is the total remaining credit point? Are there any particular credit points where students will have to complete at UTAS?
Apologies, I thought I had unmuted myself. Look, this is probably an area where I'm not as strong in all of that detail, but Tamara may be a little bit more across that. But if I think that the years are just over 100 credit points. So I think it's just over 100 across the 2 years. But I might have to just get back to you on that one. And I don't know if you'd be able to send out an email with some some clarification on that, but I can just confirm that for you.
But Josie, can I just confirm that whatever module that's offered in next 2 years, normally students will have to pass it all to be eligible to pass to graduate. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. So every unit that needs to be completed in year two and year 3 will need to be completed to graduate. Correct.
Yeah. So perhaps students who are interested, perhaps if you look into University of Tasmania website, you might be able to find information about the structures and all that. So you'll be able to find some of the modules. At this point of time, I think perhaps not too worried, how many points, but be aware that normally you have to complete and pass all modules to be able to be eligible to actually graduate at the end of the day. Yeah. Tamara, do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, I don't have anything to add to that particular one.
Yeah, all right. We also have a question. I'm not too sure whether Josie and Tamara can answer. What is the total tuition fees for the 2-year studies at UTAS?
I'm happy to answer that one, Josie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll probably start off by sort of talking about it in a yearly basis. So the annual tuition fee, which is usually the equivalent of 8 units in an academic year, for next year will be 38,450 Australian dollars. But it's important to note that that amount doesn't include any potential scholarships. So if a student was fortunate enough to be able to get the Tasmanian International Scholarship, with that 25% tuition discount, that would actually bring it down to just under 29,000 Australian dollars per year. Because I guess with that scholarship, it's important to note that it is for the duration, of the course. So that can make a big difference. So therefore, if a student was lucky enough to get that scholarship, it would be under $40,000 for 16 units of study over a 2-year period as well. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I hope that helps for those of you who actually wanted to know about tuition fees. There's also a question who asks, is there a limit of how many IMU students can transfer to University of Tasmania? Maybe, yeah.
So I think I can answer that one. I think in our last contract we had we could take up to 10, even up to 15 IMU students. In 2022 we had 8 transferring students, which was probably one of our biggest years of transferring students, but that was really great to have so many.
Yes. So depending on when some of you decided to actually transfer, perhaps you could check with us on the year that you decide to apply to us. We'll normally be able to tell you whether you would have got secure the places, because for all because in IMU, at the point that you are you enroll in the program, you would have known whether you are getting a place, to be able to transfer upon completing the first 2 years already. So you don't need to worry whether, that you've only been told at the second year. At the first point when you enroll, you would have known already whether you could actually secure a seat to be able to transfer to Tasmania. Okay. Yeah. These questions, perhaps I wasn't myself too clear what it's trying to ask is, do you offer graduate courses in Tasmania? I suppose perhaps the person is asking about maybe postgraduate courses that's relevant to pharmacy, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't offer a postgraduate pharmacy degree at the University of Tasmania.
Yeah.
No.
We do have.
Sorry, you go, Tamara.
So we do have some other master programs, so
Yes.
within pharmacy and also just in our wider College of Health and Medicine, that students that complete a Bachelor of Pharmacy, would be eligible for. So within the school, we do have a Master of Pharmaceutical Science. So if somebody was wanting to veer more into that pharmaceutical industry space, or even go into do something around becoming a research assistant or something like that, we have a strong pharmaceutical science program, and we have a number of international students that do that and then go on to do PhD studies, for example. And then also we have a Master of Public Health as well, which many health professionals of different backgrounds, go into, whether it's, a few years after they've done their bachelor and they're just looking to, upskill to get more senior management positions as well. So there are some other options in that space.
All right. Adding to the questions about the tuition fees itself, would Dinesh want to just highlight a little bit, maybe tuition fees on the IMU side of it?
All right. So the tuition fees from IMU side is actually basically the students will need to pay for the first 2 years. Yeah, although they are in the credit transfer option program, but once they transfer, the picture changes actually. So they will need to pay. So when they are in IMU, the students will need to pay in Ringgit Malaysia. So that is actually set. Actually, students can get these details at any of the brochures which are available on the IMU website. So there are very clear instructions given on the tuition fee, especially the first 2 years of the program, how much they expected to pay, especially in this specific program. So all this information are available on the internet. So students, if they want to have a look at it, they can. And not only that, students also can get other details, for example, like from where exactly they can get scholarships. There are many funding sources from where students can apply for pharma as a scholarship. So IMU itself actually provides a certain type of scholarship, but students need to cross-check with the admissions unit whether they are really eligible for that scholarship. Yeah, so basically all these informations for students are available on the internet.
Mm-hmm. All right. One of the students is asking or confirming whether is there actually 3 campuses or location for University of Tasmania, and whether they're able to choose to enroll to any one of the campus. Yeah.
Yes, look, my understanding is that they could choose to enrol in any of those campuses because we're offering the same degree simultaneously across the three campuses. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think this must need some homework. Yeah. Yes.
So I was just about to say, so all 3 campuses are CRICOS registers, so we're allowed to take international students in all 3 as well, which is important to note. Also, though, it's important to note because while Tasmania looks very small on the map, it is actually quite large when it comes to landmass. So if somebody lives in Launceston in northern Tasmania, you can't study in Hobart because it's like 200 kilometres between each city as well. So it can be a little bit deceiving on the map.
Yeah. Thank you, Tamara, for clarifying that. Yeah. Of course, we have one question which is particularly on the scholarship that Tasmania is offering for international students. The students want to know whether there's a limitation to the number of students, that's approved for the scholarship, or in other words, whether there is any competition, that the students have to meet, and whether this is auto approved in that sense that if they meet 3.5 CGPA, do they automatically eligible for the scholarship?
Yeah, absolutely. So, firstly, there is no there's no sort of limit, no quota. So, with as long as somebody gets that GPA of 3.5 or above, they will get offered that Tasmanian International Scholarship. And very much so, as soon as we got that GPA, the admissions team will update the letter of offer and give that confirmation to the student and their parents that they've got that scholarship.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
As well. And I did see another question where somebody asked if the tuition fee was based on 100 credit points, and it is that 38,450.
Okay, thanks for confirming that. Yeah. All right. I think there's a few questions still perhaps surrounding the questions on credit transfer pathway. Perhaps I just confirm again, yes, students who are applying to IMU credit transfer program to Tasmania will have to make the application at the start of the program. So which means as soon as you apply to IMU, you have to indicate whether you are transferring to Tasmania or you would like to stay on the IMU BFA local program. So when we made offer to you, would have made whether we are offering you the local program or we are offering you the credit transfer program. Okay, and also to confirm that you're right, as long as students who are completed the first 2 years for students who are opted for credit transfer to Tasmania, as long as you complete all the module and pass all the module in IMU in the first 2 years, you are eligible to transfer already into University of Tasmania. So I just want to confirm that again for those of you who are might still be a bit unclear on that. All right. Perhaps I think just a question to Ven. All right. Yeah, Ven, so I mean, can you share with us what have perhaps, you know, why have you chosen to go to University of Tasmania credit transfers, or, you know, can you give advice on, you know, how do you go about your selection? Yeah.
Actually, my story is a very interesting story. Because my initial pathway wasn't with UTAS. It was with Otago throughout the first 2 years when I was in IMU. And then because of COVID, New Zealand wasn't processing student visas, and we were given the choices of whether I'm going to transfer to Tasmania, deferring a year and going on to Otago if they are opening their borders, or I'm staying in Malaysia. So that was the deciding factor that I'm going to transfer to UTAS, but I did not regret my decision. I love it here. I have a job that I love, and I secured an internship for next year as well.
Wow, that's good. Congratulations for securing that. Yeah, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe, I mean, the sound of it, you're really enjoying Tasmania. Yeah, and you did mention that there was a little bit of struggles and all that. Any advice to anyone of those who are planning to transfer to, you know, to undergo this transfer program? Any advice for them?
I think my advice will mainly be, don't be afraid to actually talk to someone about it or like ask questions, because I think that from what I observe in IMU, whenever lecturers ask questions, usually there will be no one like asking. It will just be quiet. But in UTAS, it's very different. Everyone starts engaging and asking questions. Even if you feel like it's just a small question and it's a very obvious question, sometimes we just ask because it might be going through someone's mind. So just ask as many questions as possible, even if it's just to double confirm.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think as when it's explaining about the internship, I think we have questions popping out relating to internship. Then, you know, they like to know a little bit more about the internship. Is it at a 4th year internship? Is that a 4th year internship?
No. So what you will do is during your 3rd and 4th year, it's mainly placements. So your placements during the 3rd and 4th year will be unpaid. And then you graduate from UTAS, and then you will go on to your internship, which is part of the requirement by the Pharmacy Guild and the Pharmacy Board before you are actually registered to be a pharmacist. So it's a 1-year internship program, and you have to apply to pharmacies that are offering internship programs as in collaboration with other bodies such as the PSA, Pharmaceutical Society of Australia, or the Guild itself, which offers like certain programs, and you have to do, I would say, something like assignments and tasks that they give you throughout the year to actually pass the internship, as well as an oral exam and a written exam.
Oh, so they have an oral exam for the internship before you are registered as a pharmacist over there.
Yes, but I would say that UTAS actually prepared us very well. During my 3rd and 4th year, we have counseling sessions every week. Wow. So we are quite prepared.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. I suppose I'm just trying to confirm here that the 3rd year and 4th year placement, as you say, is unpaid internship. I think the question is asking whether students can apply themselves or it was assigned by the universities.
The 3rd and 4th year placements are mainly assigned by the university, so they will organize everything. We just have to attend. And I think the thing that we need to do before the placements is just calling up the pharmacy and asking what are the hours, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for sharing, Ven. Josie, maybe you want to add a little bit about the 3rd and 4th year into placement. Yeah.
Sure. So Ven's done a great job in explaining how that all works. But yeah, so third and fourth year we do a lot of placements. As when I spoke to Ven earlier today, she said a lot of her peers in her group, you know, on their third year placement, actually that's how they got their part-time jobs, by, you know, impressing on their third year placements as well. In terms of the actual intern year, so the placements we allocate, the students attend those, and they're obviously just unpaid. They're short, sort of either 2 to 3 week sort of placement blocks at a time. And then once they graduate with their Bachelor of Pharmacy with honours, they then go on to do their internship. But that is up to the student to organise them themselves. Often pharmacies will contact us to advertise to the students about intern positions, but that will be something that they organise themselves to go on to become interns. But I think Ven's probably found it a fairly straightforward process to do that. Yeah. We sort of, and that's another reason we do have a really good relationship with all of our pharmacies, and having the placement program. We use a lot of our pharmacies and hospital pharmacies during those, and a lot of people might get either part-time jobs or intern positions out of those as well.
Yeah. So I assume this placement is going to happen in community pharmacy and hospital, both sides. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then we also have another some additional placements where they attend elective sort of sites. So that might be something a little bit more allied health. So maybe nursing or aged care providers and things like that. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure students there are all quite well-rounded because they get plenty of exposures of different kind of practices over there. Yeah. Wonderful.
So.
Yeah. All right. I think just this question is just to clarify. When mentioned, I mean, of course, it's mentioned here about third year and fourth year, but of course, I think it was when during the overview itself, you mentioned the program is 3 years. So perhaps you would like to clarify that a little bit, maybe?
Yes. Yeah. So that it is a little bit confusing. So when Ven came across, she came straight into third year and then studied third and fourth year with us. But from this year, all of the intakes are undergoing a fast track course, so that everyone who comes, it will be a 3-year degree. Yeah.
All right. So the new students who join in will have their placement in future in second year and third year. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to clarify to everyone, I think yes, you're right. Ven was on an old program, and the new program now is a 3 years program. So if you join Tasmania, you're going to join in second year. So and that year you're going to have placement, and you're going to have third year placement as well. And following that, you'll be doing your internship, which is similar to Malaysia provisional registration pharmacy, housemanship, and that's the year that you will need to work, and usually we get paid, during that year. Yeah. And to get yourself licensed and registered as pharmacist in Australia. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
okay. All right. All right. And I think one of the questions is asking here again whether you're paid on third year and fourth year. No, I think because it's assigned by students as a placement, so you're not paid usually, But are there much opportunities for students to usually do part-time in pharmacy, around that timing?
A lot of students work in pharmacy, and like I said, even though the placements aren't paid, often people do come out of those. If and we often say to the students, make sure you really put your best foot forward, because then they come out of those placements with part-time jobs as well, like paid jobs, obviously, as well. So, and I'd say probably 3/4 of the students would have part-time jobs in pharmacies.
Right. Are they much is it much regulated how many hours students can work in Tasmania?
Yes. Based on the student visa, throughout your semesters, you would have a 48-hour cap per fortnight of work. Previously, it was unlimited due to COVID, but it was enforced back in 1st of July 2023.
Yeah, so that's one of the common questions that usually students and parents will ask us. So thanks for the information. That's very helpful. All right. Yeah.
Sorry, just one quick
Yeah.
point. It's also just helpful important to note that during semester break, those students can still work full-time hours
Okay.
as well. So if people are wanting to stay behind in Tasmania during the summer breaks and just and work, you know, that's possible.
Yeah.
As well.
Thank you for the information, Tamara. I suppose maybe this question, Tamara, might be able to help. You know, how long is the visa given usually for students who transfer to University of Tasmania? Or maybe Vern or Tamara would be able to share. Yeah.
It's one of the things that it can often change depending on the caseload volume within the Department of Home Affairs. So they can have peak periods where it can be busier than others. But the important thing to note is Malaysia is considered a low-risk country. So Malaysians, you know, often don't have to wait as long to get their visa as perhaps some other nationalities, you know, might have to wait. So, you know, sometimes some students can get their visa in a couple of days, but others might have to wait, you know, a month or something like that. It can vary. Ven, what was your experience when you had to get your visa? Was it a couple of months, a few weeks?
Mine was pretty quick, but it was a pretty interesting experience just because of COVID going around, and
Of course, yeah.
there was lockdown in every single state, and I have to go from Perak all the way to KL for certain things, and it was very messy. But since now everything is open back up, it should be pretty fast because at that time it was granted pretty fast. I think within a week or two, I was granted with my visa already. So
Yeah.
I think it would be a much smoother experience from then.
Yeah. Yeah, but perhaps those of you who are very concerned about visa, just to share with you, I think IMU is, we are quite, we have been handling a lot of credit transfers program for many years. Yeah, I think, I mean, if you exclude about the COVID, I think usually things are quite smooth going. And as long as students will have all document ready, and normally shouldn't be much of a problem with application of visa. And usually IMU would provide support to students, you know, in application process as well. So don't worry about that part. Yeah. There was one question about failing rate, but perhaps not jumping directly to failing rates in University of Tasmania, perhaps to ask Josie, how do students usually do at, you know, University of Tasmania? You know, do they have much struggle academically, and how does it go? Yeah.
Usually students go pretty well. Yeah, we don't have a very high failure rate. I wouldn't have thought Tamara might be able to sort of jump in compared to other degrees, but I feel like we don't have a very high failure rate, and we do try to prepare students really well for their you know, for their exams and to get through their placements and things like that. But we don't often have people who, by the time you get to their final year, we don't have very many that wouldn't get through, if that answers the question.
Yes. Can I just share an experience?
Yes,
this was actually one of the challenges that I had when I transferred over to Australia. Because in Malaysia, as far as I'm aware, there's OSCEs in semester 4 and semester 8. And the rest is mainly MCQ or SAQ exams. So in Australia, it's very different. We have mid-semesters exam, and like the final exam, there's a lot of oral-based exams. So it was a bit challenging to me. And I did fail a few of my mid-semester exam, I'm not gonna lie, but I did pass the whole year. So I made it up for my final exam. What mainly we did was, when we failed our mid-semesters, we talked to the lecturers and like kind of asked them how are they grading and how everything should be answered. Because it's a different type of grading system. In Malaysia, it's 1 mark is 1 point, like 1 point of an answer. But if in Australia, it's more like 1 mark means you have 1 minute to answer. So it can have like 2 or 3 answers to grant you that 1 mark. It's very different, and I didn't know that at first, and that was why I failed. But just getting to know and talking to the lecturers about it and clarifying everything was very helpful. And they are very helpful in like just guiding you throughout the exams.
Mind me asking, usually those who, from your cohort, whoever that has already nearly completing and all that, are all of you joining hospitals or community pharmacy for your internship?
As far as I'm aware, most of us are joining community, just because we are offered the position at our workplace, at our current workplace. And the hospital takes a bit more time for them to actually offer. And the community pharmacies are usually faster in their office. Yeah.
And I assume most of you would have got or secured, some internship position, perhaps during the placement timing at 4th year?
Yes, most of us did. I got my offer before my placements, but the pharmacy which I did my placement in actually wanted to put down an offer as well. But due to certain changes in the healthcare system in Australia, they are still offering. A lot of pharmacies are still offering, but it depends on which pharmacy at the moment.
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening to this, I think, there's as Josie has mentioned, the rate of the employment rate is pretty high, about 100%. All students would have secured some job in Australia. So if you are still concerning about, saturation and no job in all that, I think that's not real in that sense, So most students are able to secure certain jobs. Yeah.
I would say that in different states, I wouldn't be able to say anything, but in Tasmania, there's definitely more positions than there are students. So it's most likely you're going to get a job.
Yeah, that's great. So is it your plan to stay on to Tasmania?
Yes, it is. Actually, I wanted to give this advice if anyone is planning to work in or to secure a job in Australia. I think there's a misconception that when you are employed to be a pharmacy assistant, that you should know most of the knowledge. And if you're a 3rd year or 4th year student, that you're already equipped with all the knowledge that you need to work. But actually, no, I wouldn't say that, because in Australia, I find that the employers value more of how keen you are actually to learn. They will train you even if you have no knowledge. They will train you as long as you are keen to learn and you're keen to ask questions. Depends on yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Wen, for sharing that. Yeah. So I think we are nearly going to end this session already, perhaps another 2 minutes. Any last word from Tamara? Any advice for those who are, considering credit transfers program?
I would just say, just don't be scared. Just, it's such a great experience, I think, to live and study overseas. Even when I was younger, I lived in the UK for a couple of years, and it was the best thing that I ever did, to be really honest. It helped shape who I am today. So it really does so much for your confidence, I think, having exposure to another culture in a different country. So I would just say, if it's possible for you, just grab the opportunity with both hands and go for it.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Yep, go for it if you're keen on that. Josie, any last word? Anything?
Look, I have to agree with Tamara. I think we'd love to have you come and do the last 2 years of your degree with us. We feel like we offer a really strong, varied degree, and you finish up the degree with lots of skills and certificates in various things to do as a pharmacist. I feel like we sort of really do promote all the different roles that pharmacists can do now, and it's not just as simple as just only working in a community pharmacy. When you add in the home medicine reviews and vaccinating and working in aged care and all of those kinds of things as well. So we'd love to have you come and spend that time with us.
Anything from you, Dinesh? Yeah.
I think I would say, wish you all the best for the students. Actually, pharmacy is a very wonderful profession, and like what everyone shared here, the scope, especially in terms of career, is plenty. It's a wide range of scope,
Okay, so as Dr. Dinesh says, pharmacy is a very diverse profession. So for those of you who are really keen, into pharmacy program, and of course you can get more information from IMU website. And okay, yeah. So I think thanks again for everyone here who are present today. I think we really enjoy the time with all of you, and thank you very much, Tamara, Josie, and Wen, for joining us. I know it's very late night in Hobart already, but thank you very much. And of course, more importantly, thank you for all of you who are attending today. And of course, please continue to just check our website. And if we are going to have a next live talk, please just join us again. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I think we shall end the session here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us.